Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode number 8 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Latini Creative Solutions, who for over 20 years have been leading in experience in design, print, and marketing, specializing in creative solutions that capture your voice and deliver your message. From supporting and energizing your already established brand to developing your company's identity and marketing campaigns, Latini Creative Solutions provides design that is thoughtful, focused, and creatively executed. You can tell everything I just said is absolutely true when you look at the artwork for Cocktails in the War Room or the Mistress Carrie podcast. If you're looking to rebrand, jazz up your website or your company, or maybe create some new artwork for a new startup, head to latinicreative.com and see if they can make you look as badass as they make me. This episode of the podcast is also sponsored by Jumptown Skydiving. If you have always wanted to jump out of a plane, you got it on your bucket list and you're like, someday I'm going to do it. Why not do it right now? Jumptown Skydiving is right in Orange, Mass, about 70 miles west of Boston. They're open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And if you want to go and make a tandem skydive, whether it's with a group of friends or just by yourself because all of your friends think you're crazy, head to Jumptown. Jumptown is the very first purpose-built skydiving center in the United States, dating all the way back to May of 1959. And yes, they will take pictures and get it on video. And they also offer student discounts, military discounts, and group discounts if you can get all your friends to go with you. Head to jumptown.com for more details. Okay, this episode of the podcast features some guys that I have known for years, and I am so happy that I got to reconnect with them today. Adam Gontier and Mike Mushok make up the band Saint Asonia. Now, of course, Adam Gontier comes from 3 Days Grace, and Mike Mushok is also part of Stained. I saw them back in November when we did the Vinyl for Vets fundraiser with WAAF. And then, after the new year, they did that amazing Friends of Six String acoustic performance at the Six String Bar and Grill down at Patriot Place. And then, of course, the whole world went to hell. So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to check in with the guys and see how they're holding up through all of the craziness. Now, don't forget, each and every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast comes with a corresponding playlist. Right in the description of this podcast, you're going to find a playlist filled with awesome music from these guys. I'm so excited to be able to say, this is Adam Gontier and Mike Mushok from Saint Asonia on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your brow on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stained, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
This is Marilyn Manson, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Adam, Mike, how are you?
Hey. Very good. How you doing?
Doing well.
What's going on, guys?
Hanging out.
It's nice to see your smiling faces.
Same to you. I mean, you know what? I feel like so many years went by and I hadn't seen you. Then all of a sudden we did that little show, the acoustic thing Adam and I did for you, and you came down to the
in November for Veterans Day.
Then you came down to the 6 string, and I mean, I feel like just getting acquainted. It's great.
Yeah, and nothing major has happened since I saw you guys last at all.
Very quiet year. 2020's been a real quiet year.
I'm literally like the whole year. The fact that things like murder hornets and UFOs being confirmed by the Pentagon in a normal year, those would be the biggest stories of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's just like, what?
Don't even talking about it.
UFOs? Who gives a fuck about the UFOs?
Totally.
You guys are going to hear me swear now, which I never got to do on the radio.
Nice, right? Much easier.
I mean, you've known me for years. You've heard me swear 1,000 times, but never with a microphone in front of my face. And now...
It's liberating, right?
Yeah, I just did it, and my heart went, oh, you just swore. Like, I'm still trying to get into the habit of the fact that I don't have to worry about the FCC. I know. I have no dump button in here. I don't need one.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It is.
So let's start with where you guys are right now. Where are you guys hunkered down?
At home.
Yeah, home.
Yeah.
No, but I mean home, like Mike, you're in Connecticut. That
Correct.
I know.
Yes.
Adam, where are you in Canada or are you in the U.S. right now? You're in Canada.
No, I'm in Canada. Yeah, I'm in just a couple hours outside of Toronto, in Peterborough, Ontario, where I was born. Basically, my hometown.
So, because you're up there right now, are you guys just looking south at the border and just laughing at us right now? I mean, how is this being a Canadian watching what the fuck is going on in America right now?
Well, I mean. Well, I don't think anybody's laughing. I think everybody's taking it a little bit serious, you know. But no, I mean we're doing well up here. The Prime Minister's done a fairly good job, and local people have done fairly good jobs and stuff. So yeah, it's just a bummer. I mean, I've lived in the States for a long time, so it's kind of like looking at home from the outside a little bit and seeing a little bit of chaos, and that kind of sucks.
So the border is closed, so you can't come here and we can't go there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which would make it a little difficult for Saint Asonia to like hunker down in a house together and work on new music.
Absolutely.
There is the internet, and then in these days it's pretty easy to, I mean, like a lot of things that we've done. I mean, even when Adam and I first started, it was file sharing. Like I'd record something and send it to him, he'd sing on it, send it back. And so that kind of stuff's been going on with us since the beginning.
And technology, I mean, I know all of the bands are basically doing that right now. Technology makes it pretty easy for you guys to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to be able to just come up with ideas and songs and just send them over and get ideas going.
Yeah.
Now, I know for myself, being kind of locked in the house before the coronavirus, Mike Shue and I have joked that we were unemployed and social distancing before it was cool. Because AAF went off the air,
right.
The third week of February.
3 weeks before the world ended.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of time to find the edge of the internet, to find the end of Netflix, to kind of, what are some of the things that you guys found yourself watching or listening to that you never would have before, but now you're just so bored that you're like, all right, fuck it, I'll watch that.
Well, for me, I mean, I've been binge watched a bunch of different shows, and they're all pretty much shows. I never really was watching TV before, so now I'm watching it a lot. I like it. I've been watching a show called Alone. It's a reality show that was on the History Channel. People get dropped in the middle of like Mongolia or something and try to survive, and it's pretty cool.
Can you imagine what kind of person wants to do that for fun?
Yeah, I know.
That seems like my biggest fear.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
you dropped in the middle of nowhere.
These are people that, I guess,
Yeah.
that have just been doing it since they were young or whatever. Have gone to survival camps and all that sort of stuff, right? And they learn all these different things. And then, winner gets $500,000.
Oh, not bad.
But so it's interesting.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm unemployed,
Right, yeah.
so I mean, now you're
So can I sign you up?
You start talking about $500,000.
I'll get to the airport.
Yeah, I mean, how long do I gotta last? What about you, Mike?
I mean, honestly, for me, I've just been. This whole thing started. The kids came home from school. They were here, and I sat down and I came up with basically like a 3-page list of things that I wanted to do around the house and here and get taken care of. I've really kind of been doing that. I really haven't watched much. I got through Ozark, but it literally took me like 2.5 months to get through 10 episodes of that. So it hasn't been like there's been a lot of that going on. You know what I mean? The kids did well with the school thing, you know, but I swear about 6 weeks into it, about 10 o'clock every day, they're at each other's throats ready to kill each other. They did really good for a bit. And then it just got to the point where they're just like, you know, couldn't take each other, I think. So we'd have that speed bump every day. We got through that. And I mean, what's been nice is that I want to say right about the beginning of June, their activities started. So my daughter rides horses. The barn opened. So she's there 6 days a week, and son baseball games started, you know, probably, I think we're on our 4th week now. So, you know, practice started for him. So they're busy almost every day with that stuff, you know, so.
For most people, the idea of getting stuck at home and dealing with a never-ending honey-do list is like, oh, God. But when you're a touring musician, you guys haven't had this much time off at home in how long?
Well, no, I mean, we actually had a bit of a break, though, right, recently. So, I mean, honestly, for me, this is kind of this, I mean, if I'm off the road, this is what I do anyways, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
really
same here.
It's really no different for me, you know, except the kids are always here, and we couldn't go felt like we couldn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? That was the big thing. Some vacations got canceled. We had to, you know, change how we were going to do some things, but, you know, you figure it out, right?
So tell me about teaching kids at home and becoming a school teacher, because I don't have kids, but everyone I know is in hell and has so much more respect for their kids' teachers now than they ever did before.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, my kids are great. They'd get up in the morning, like whatever, 8 o'clock, their assignments were posted by 9. By 9 o'clock, they went in there and they just did their work. I mean, I'd go in there like, they're like, no, we're okay. My son's grades went up.
Is that because you're marking the paper?
He did better. He was done in like 3 hours. My daughter's super meticulous about everything she does. And she would literally be in there for like 8 hours and just stop for lunch, go right back and keep working. Need help? No, we're good. I mean.
Are you helping with the math? Everybody I know is like, what the hell did they do to math? Now, did the new math that they have here in the U.S., is that the math you always learned in Canada, Adam? Because everybody I know that's dealing with the math changes is like, what the fuck?
What's the new math?
I
don't know how to explain it. It's like in the boxes and stuff, right?
I mean, it's the same. It's honestly, it's kind of the same. It's not that different. This is where my nerdiness comes in, and I had a degree in electrical engineering.
I know,
so
you've always been so much smarter.
No, it's not that at all. But I mean, the math thing I actually enjoy, and that's where I would go and help them. And the thing about math, there's just so many different ways to get the same answer. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So, yeah, that was the one thing I always felt I could help them with.
I think we pretty much learned the same thing, but the measurements are different. That's all. I think that's the only real difference. But
you guys and your metric system.
Well, metrics makes so much sense.
You mean
what we have?
The rest of the world? And
exactly.
Our metric system, right?
Totally.
Right.
Don't tell us how to math, Adam. So the last time that we were all together, we were at the Friends of Six String benefit at the Six String Bar and Grill, which is down at Patriot Place.
Yep.
And obviously, since everything happened, Mike, talk to me about what it's been like as a business owner, because you're not just affected by everything that's going on because you're a touring musician, but also the argument between opening up the economy and keeping it closed down for people's safety is affecting you in two completely different ways now.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty much everything that I do has been affected by this, you know. So, but listen, I mean, I like we were saying, I feel like, you know, Massachusetts, you know, they did what they felt they had to do, and our numbers are still down, and we are slowly reopening. So, I mean, the big thing is the shows, right? And people being able to safe to go back to a show and feel comfortable in that environment. I just don't know when that'll be. right? I mean, did you see that thing? Didn't Great White just do a show or something in Wisconsin? And everybody went crazy because nobody had a mask on. Everybody was standing.
Nobody
right
was
next to each
social
other,
distancing. It was just like it was like in North Dakota or something, right?
Yeah. There's a couple of states that still don't have like any regulations. I think you can do.
You would think they would be a band that would be more concerned with the safety of the people at their shows.
You would think, right?
That's what
After what happened south. Yeah.
I'm not trying to. But I mean, if that were part of your history, that maybe you would want to put some extra thought into things.
Yeah, no, totally. You know,
people were sending me the link on Twitter and they're like, did you see this? And I'm like, find the place where you don't motherfuck people on the internet, Carrie. Can you find a place where you're not just railing on Twitter?
That one huge disaster was not enough. You feel like you have to go and try and do it again.
I know. And I understand the idea that there are certain places. I mean, it's the same thing with you, Adam. It's like there are parts of Canada that are highly populated. And then there are parts of Canada that are so remote that those people are like, we don't have any issues up here, guys. We're good. So I understand the concept that there's places like North Dakota that don't have public transportation systems, that don't have giant buildings,
there's
and
no
they don't
density
have
of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's sparse, spread out.
But then you look internationally and you look at major cities in like Japan that are 3 times as big as major cities in the United States, and they don't have a lot of cases at all because everyone's being so strict about wearing masks and washing their hands. And so it's like, what are we doing here?
I don't know.
I think
I think we're making it more difficult.
It seems like that just from the very top, I guess, the president or whatever, just passing it on to mayors, or passing it on to individual states to sort of to do what they feel is right. It might be a problem. It would be good for somebody to, at the very, somewhere up there to say, this is what has to be done. No matter what, every state has to do this and follow this, this procedure or something.
I mean, it didn't work when you isolated one country with the virus because it still found a way to get here through either Europe or coming directly through China or whatever. So it's like, if you think the virus is going to stop at the Mass New York border and just be like, ooh, that's Massachusetts, we can't go in there. Like, it doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, and I feel like everybody thinks it's going to just turn 2021 and it's just going to go away. Everybody's like, oh, next year. But it's like, well, it's the same thing. It's still going to be here. I mean, it's not going to, this is here forever, right? It's just a matter of how we can handle it and what people do to try and stop the spread of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like at least I don't know. Like I said, it changes all the time. At least it seems like the rate of people dying isn't as bad. But I mean, is that going to go up too as all these cases have gone up? You know what I mean?
Well, it depends on where you're at. I mean, here in the Northeast, we got it really bad really quickly.
Yeah.
And now our healthcare system, I think, is able to kind of handle the number of cases. But in places down south and out west that didn't get that initial surge like we did, they are now starting to need portable morgues and ventilators. And at least the testing is ramped up so that they have better access to testing than we did 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And masks and gowns and rubber gloves and all of that PPE shortage, that made it more difficult as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what I keep saying is that you never realized how good we had it. And you had no idea that, you know what I mean? Just being able to go sit down at a restaurant and feel comfortable or go to a show or
give your
friend, I just say, give your friend a hug. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up? You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, stand back.
I talked to Tommy Vext from Bad Wolves, and he does a lot of work with sobriety, sober counseling, mental health stuff. And one of his famous sayings is you need at least 3 hugs a day to have a good mental health day. And that is so true, that physical contact, like you guys have known me for years. The first thing I do when I see you is give you a giant hug because I'm a hugging kind of person. And it's like, I care about you. I want to give you a hug and then I want to cook for you. That's how I show people that I care about them. Right.
Right.
And going around and like elbow bumping people or like waving weird. From 6 feet away is really strange.
Yeah, no, it is.
It really is.
For sure. It's just awkward. People are kind of, you know what I mean? It's just a new way of trying to figure this thing out, right?
I don't have kids, so I can only imagine what it's like. But can you guys talk to me about how you handle these kind of subjects as parents, and like how your kids are kind of dealing with the news of the world that they have access to unfiltered, and then obviously how it is that you guys are explaining things to them?
Well, my son's only, he turns 3 in a couple weeks, so he's, doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care at all. But I'm interested to hear what Mike has to say, with his kids being old enough to
does he wear a mask?
You know what? We went out to a store a couple days ago to grab a couple things, and just him and I, he wore a mask, and I did too, and he kept it on, so that was good. It is a Paw Patrol mask.
Wow.
So, I mean, if I had
Yours
a Paw
was
Patrol
the Paw
mask,
Patrol, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Binge watching that too, even when he goes to bed.
Nice, perfect.
Yeah. No,
That's
but
awesome.
he just thinks it's fun to wear a mask at this point. But it is, I mean, not seeing family, not really getting together with family all that much, or seeing his cousins or whoever else. It's a little bit strange.
Yeah. So I don't know. My kids are 13-year-old twins,
That's the perfect age to be locked in the house away from their friends.
I never thought I'd hear it. It was probably about mid-May, early May, and I was putting my son to bed, and he's like, "Dad, I really miss school." I'm like, what? The kid that never wanted to, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's the social part of it. You know what I mean? He's his social friends. That's why I think like the baseball, being back with his friends and playing baseball is really good. You know what I mean? It's great for him. But I think that there was more screen time that happened on like phones and things of that nature. So like my daughter's super sensitive. So like I honestly don't even like to have the news on if she's in the room. I don't like to hear about things because she kind of takes everything and thinks like it's going to happen to me. Like she had this thing where there was something on TikTok where there were like these terrorists tracking your phone. It's like, people put these stupid things out. She believed the terrorists were going to track her phone and come find her. I go, you're a 13-year-old girl that lives in Connecticut in the middle of the woods. I don't think any terrorists, I've never heard of a terrorist attack. I think you're, and listen, I'm not trying to make fun of you or belittle what it is. You're scared. I get it, but listen. We'll be okay. What I mean?
Look at what we were dealing with when we were 13, right? I mean, we were being children of the 80s.
Like I'm old. I remember like the nuclear war thing with Russia, like thinking that was going to be a thing. You know what I mean? So, and I remember my dad telling me, he's like, "Oh, when we were kids, we'd have nuclear fallouts where we'd have to, and they, to hide from the radiation, they would, get under the desk.
Yeah,
that's going to stop it. You know what I mean? I'm safe now."
And people forget that when they talk about like the active shooter drills or things that kids go through now, it's like they scared the shit out of your parents back in the day too.
Yeah, like my kids, like they go through that and they're like the guy running through the hallway slamming on doors. They're like they come home traumatized from that shit. You know what I mean? That they do.
But it's like when we were growing up, though, we really kind of all grew up in this really interesting kind of era where there were pockets of war, but nothing large scale. And the technology was, I mean, the biggest thing was like, how long could you drag the phone cord down the hall and like into your closet to talk to the girl you liked? You know what I mean? I can't imagine how any of us would have reacted if we had access to the entire world on a smartphone and we're watching the major things between terrorism and pandemics and, and then you get
Black Lives Matters thing happened. All those protests were happening. I mean, that was just huge. And around us, I mean, they were all, I mean, I'm sure you too, I'm sure that they're all over the place here. I mean, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was a lot to comprehend and you're going through, I mean, it's not easy being 13.
I was going to say, you guys have never been a 13-year-old girl, but trust me, I was. And at that age, it's like you're a raw nerve and you just feel everything.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do with it all. Yeah. And you're just trying to figure it out. And it's like, I can't imagine being a 13-year-old girl right now or a 13-year-old boy and just trying to navigate growing up and trying to just feel safe and worry about your friendships and your dog and your whatever when you're being barraged with the world.
I mean, it's nice that the things have kind of opened up a little bit here. Like I said, I mean, my dog, she's at the barn every day. She's there for hours a day. Plays baseball. He's got this club that he goes to in town where all his friends, there's a couple of pools. They go hang out. In fact, I got to bring him there when we're done with this. You know what I mean? He'll spend the afternoon there. You know what I mean? So there's things now that kind of make it a little bit easier. Whereas going through that, May, June, once it started to, they left school on a Friday saying, we'll see you in 2 weeks, never to go back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and now there's questions of the fall, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's definitely unprecedented, though.
And you guys travel internationally so much and have for years. You're touring musicians. You've been on the road for as long as your careers have been around with whatever bands you were with. We always, when you go to the airport, especially if you're flying internationally, always saw people wearing masks, right? And it freaked you out because you were like, why is that person wearing a mask? What's going on? Now I feel bad for like looking at those people because now I'm like, if they were not feeling well and wearing a mask, they were protecting me, and I feel like I didn't appreciate what they were doing before. Now I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this one person once that literally sat next to me, and they had like this little kit, and they opened it up, and they had their mask, and they had their cleaning wipes, and they wiped the whole thing down. They put the mask on, and they just sat there the whole,
And you're like, what do they know that I don't know? And now it's like, they were fucking geniuses.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know.
At the same time, maybe they didn't get to build up a little bit of an immunity to anything. So maybe they're
well, that's the other thing, too, is that you can't bleach the world either. Right. And it's like, where's the balance between eating mud and...
Yeah, right. We were supposed to go to Europe in October.
That's right.
And, that got put off a year now at this point.
One of the amazing things that's happened through this whole thing, well, there's two things. Number one has been all of the amazing kind of stripped down acoustic kind of things that have been happening that the bands have been doing. And tied in with that has been all of the amazing philanthropic endeavors that have come out of it. And Adam, you were part of that Feeding America Rock for Relief event. Can you just talk about getting approached to do something like that, and then just what it means to be able to kind of do that kind of charity work being quarantined at home?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really have a choice. I mean, at home, just playing acoustic. We were doing some live streams, the band was, and trying to do a lot of different acoustic things. And I've been asked to do a few different things, and it's just nice to be able to connect with people at this point, because it gets pretty lame not being able to actually play shows. So I mean, anything that I've been asked to do, or I'm able to do online, I'm trying to do it, because I really enjoy it, and just sitting with an acoustic guitar and helping people out a little bit is a lot of fun.
You guys play live so much and feed off the crowd so much, and have had so much experience playing shows. What do you miss the most? Is it the fans? Is it the energy from the crowd? What do you guys miss the most about just being out and being able to play shows?
I mean, for me, I tend to enjoy, I mean, the couple hours that you're on stage every night is pretty much obviously the reason why we're out there doing it. But I mean, the time in between that, the time that you spend with your brothers in the band, being locked in the bus together for hours at a time and all that stuff, that's, I think I'm starting to realize that's the part that is, that you really maybe take for granted when you're on the road. It's just nice to hang out with friends,
Yeah, no, totally. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like high school, you know what I mean? It's like you're this gang, just, kind of traveling around together, experiencing the same thing, and, just trying to, enjoy each other and go out there and put on the best show that you can. And, it's always great to, get that reaction to when you go play, packed venue and everybody's into what you're doing. And then, you know, when it's over, then you get that afterwards, you get to hang out with everybody and kind of relive that with, your fellow bandmates and the people that you're out there with. And it's really a cool experience.
One of the things that the industry is really trying to call attention to is it's not just the musicians. Can you guys talk about the family of people, the group of people, the employees, the techs, the roadies, all of those people that help that machine roll when you're out on the road, and how many people it takes to get that 2 hours on stage to be the way that you want it, because that part of the industry is completely shut down. And all of those people, like, I don't think people understand how many people it takes to make a movie or a TV show or to put a live band on tour. It's a lot of people.
Some of those guys are just so super talented and great. And a lot of them are, it's like, if I didn't make it as musicians, some of them are just as good as any of us playing up there too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe their band didn't quite make it, but ours did. It's like, hey, come on, come work for us or whatever, and so, and there's not much of a backup plan. I mean, those guys really kind of a lot of them go from gig to gig. You know what I mean? And listen, unless you're, I'm sure Metallica has the same guys they've had for years and years and years. You know what I mean? But if band like ours, and we kind of have people kind of come and go, right? And we have a few people that we kind of try to keep the same, but again, they kind of bounce around and they take work where they can get it, and
it's impossible to tour without them. I mean, it's just,
it is.
You can't, these people, I mean, I came from that kind of a background before I was on the air at AAF way back in the day. And it's like,
they make everything happen.
Yeah, you guys can't do you need them.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Oh yeah, if we didn't have them, the shows would be just horrible. We'd be tuning our own guitars and like dropping guitars left and right,
driving your own truck.
Driving our own rider trucks with with our own gear, like each one of us.
I mean, listen, I remember those days. That was the worst. You play the last note, you walk off stage, and 5 minutes later, you're gonna walk back on and start wrapping up your cables and packing up your guitars. Like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I was fortunate to be around Stained at that stage because you were a local band.
You were, yeah.
So I remember like you guys loading out of Sir Morgan's Cove and like wrapping up your cables and like, oh, the glamorous life of being in a rock band.
Yeah. No.
But you've seen it from all spectrums, and obviously Adam, 3 Days Grace and all of the other bands that you've been a part of. It's like you have to kind of go through that phase of the early years of being a musician.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Super important too, I think. I mean, to go do that, get out there, and I don't know, that's how you grow and learn and figure out, performance. And I think, what, it also helps you appreciate that much more later on if you actually get to the point where somebody else is doing it for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are so many stories about, you bring up Metallica, like back in the day when they were on that co-headlining tour with Guns N' Roses and James got burned by the pyro, his roadie did play guitar for him.
I mean, Sal, the drummer that played on the Saint Asonia record and plays in Stained, was the drum tech for 12 years. So I mean, yeah, it's not unheard of. I saw Aerosmith once, and I think it was their guitar tech was playing guitar. I don't think Joe was there.
Yeah, and more recently when they had the
drummer
the
thing.
drum
Yeah,
tech
their
was
drum tech
filling
stepped
in.
up and played drums. Yeah, same thing.
You guys better watch
Like I
out.
said,
Those guys are gunning for your gigs.
I'm telling you, these guys are talented. I mean, it's not, you know what I mean? It's just they're like I said, they just weren't fortunate enough that their band probably didn't get signed or weren't able to, so they love music and are still able to be around and be a part of it, and are a huge integral part of it. And, again, I mean, Adam talked about that hanging out and the family thing. I mean, it's just, other personalities that are there, and some of them are just great to be around and have around.
They're really feeling it too right now. Yeah.
And you really do become a family.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And it made some good friends. I mean, there's people that I've had that have worked with us over the years that I still talk to all the time. You know what I mean? We might not have worked together for years, but we're still close.
One of the things that keeps coming up in this podcast between the military people I know and the musicians that I know, you are some of the most well-traveled people on the planet because you make your living out on the road, not only here in the United States, but obviously all over the world. And so I really want to have this podcast kind of serve as an unofficial travel guide as well, because I know that rock fans will tour and travel to go and see their favorite bands. Like 2 summers ago, I went to Bucharest, Romania to see Judas Priest.
Wow.
I mean,
Nice.
I went and visited somebody that might have been stationed over there at the time, but I went and saw Judas Priest at the same time. But what I'm saying is, like, if you love a band enough and you get the opportunity to kind of check off a destination on your bucket list and go and see that band, rock fans are loyal and they'll tour. So what I have started asking people is, can you guys give me a travel destination, a country, a city that you absolutely loved, and then give me some specific places that you went to there, whether it be for really good booze or great food or sightseeing or something, so that maybe some Saint Asonia fans that ever have the chance to leave their house and travel again might be like, oh, that's what they were talking about.
I mean, I have one place that comes. I have a couple, but one place that comes to mind that was really cool. And I actually remember even Chris Lordology, who's a mixer, mixes a lot of records for everybody, was mixing a Stained record one time, and I was with him and I was talking to him about it. But there's Interlaken, Switzerland. They have the Interlaken Festival, and it's this little town in Switzerland, but it's like in between two, like the Swiss Alps, and they have this huge festival there. I remember we played it once, and town was, just beautiful. But I also remember what I did there was something I'd never done. So I remember we're sitting there having dinner. We had a day off, and you look up and there's all these parachutes like coming into the sky. I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, they drive you to the top of one of the Alps, and you basically, with a guide, strap on a parachute, run down the hill and jump off, and the parachute opens and you're 7,000 feet in the air, and you're just kind of floating around and,
so it's like
land in the.
So it's not skydiving or base jumping, but it's.
No, you just like run and jump off one of the Alps. But it was cool. That was a lot of fun. We played a set, and as soon as we were done, I got in a van and I went up there and I did it. It was great.
What did you eat there? I've heard the food in that part of the world is a little weird.
Yeah. Well, Europe's can be difficult. I mean, they have their form of pizza that they have everywhere, and pasta, which you kind of stick with because you know what you're getting. I don't remember. There's a lot of bread and like dried meats and cheeses. So you can kind of
just sounds like heaven.
Yeah, no, that is good. I mean, that's what, you know what I mean? With like a spicy mustard. There you go. Put a little sandwich together. Sandwich.
Oh, sounds so good.
I think for me, when I was in 3 days, we went to Brazil, and that was the spot for me, going to Brazil. And we played a festival there. There was about 30,000 people, and we were the only international band. And this was early on, during the first record. So we were super surprised that many people were there, and it was just the best show. But we were there for I guess maybe 5 days or a week or something like that. I learned how to surf there, or I tried to. I didn't learn at all. I just gave it a shot.
It's not easy.
I panicked when I fell. Yeah, no, it was terrible. It was horrible.
And nobody noticed the Canadian trying to learn how to surf in Brazil. Nobody noticed that guy at all.
You had to take your hockey skates off, though.
Yeah, right. The only person to notice was the guy who was teaching us. When I started to panic and when I fell off a wave, he came out and got me and pulled me back in. But I don't know. There's so many great spots, but Brazil always stands out to me as a really cool spot it was for us to play. And I mean, if there was one of my favorite bands, was playing in an awesome spot in Brazil, I would do that. I would make the trek down there. I'd fly down and see a killer show. Hopefully we get down there. Saint Asonia gets down there at some point. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people are surprised at how rabid the rock music fans are in South America. I mean, rock music is huge here in the United States and Canada and a lot of places in Europe. But there are certain pockets of fans around the world where it is religion. it is on a whole, you see these videos of these massive festivals with 150,000 people, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
They don't even understand the lyrics most of the time, but they just love the music.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That was crazy. I remember after that show in Brazil, we went out to the front of the stage area-ish, and there was so many people there. Barry actually got his wallet stolen right out of his pocket. It was
Come on, really?
Yeah, somebody scooped his wallet and just, I mean, it was just chaos. There was way too many people. We shouldn't have gone out there, but you know, yeah, it's crazy. Rabid fans is a good way to describe it.
Right.
That's one of the lessons I think you have to learn as a musician. And I want you guys to tell me about some pre-show preps and rituals. I would think that is one thing that you don't go on stage with your wallet or your cell phone, right? Because
I don't.
You're going to.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, what are some of the other things that when you guys are getting ready to go out, you're just like, okay, hold on, I got to make sure you empty your pockets, and like, what else are you doing?
Before I got into rehab, I mean, I could tell you a whole bunch of things that I wouldn't go on stage that was in my pocket, but yeah, no, I mean, I usually just put my wallet and my cell phone aside. I got nothing else there to lose on stage, but
I check my teeth to make sure I don't have like a piece of broccoli or something stuck in it. I was getting one of these to the mirror and go, okay, no, I'm good.
Well, back when you started as a musician, there might have been like one grainy digital photograph, and now everyone's recording these shows with their amazing camera phones. And if you've got that piece of broccoli in your teeth, like it's on YouTube and all over Twitter and TikTok before you even get off stage.
Back when I started, they actually used to have to chisel me into stone for a picture.
Adam, because you brought it up a little bit, how I talked to Tommy Vext about this as well, and I know that there's a lot of musicians that are talking about the challenge of maintaining sobriety and really kind of taking care of your mental health with all of this stuff going on with the isolation and the depression that is just running rampant. I mean, we talk about it all the time in the War Room, just about how difficult it is to deal with all of the things that are going on, but the added pressure of taking care of your mental health and maintaining your sobriety is something that requires so much extra work. And people that are going through it really should be commended for being able to maintain that health and sobriety while this is all happening.
Yeah, it's definitely every day is a sort of a battle and a struggle for sure in the best of times. So right now, it's a hard time to try to not get stuck inside your own head and that sort of thing. I mean, fortunately for me, I've got a really great support system around me, just my family here, and I'm around, everybody that I'm surrounded myself with are very supportive. So I'm never really around any temptations and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm really lucky that I have that. And at the same time, there's, not being able to go to AA meetings and that sort of thing has been a little bit difficult, but there's a lot of meetings online. You can find meetings everywhere. So yeah, I think I can only really speak for myself. And like I said, I'm just surrounded by the right people and I have an amazing family that keep me busy every day. And so I tend to stay out of my head for the most part in that sense. But usually when I am feeling it a little bit, it's, I can jump on a meeting online, and that's, that does the trick, I guess you could say.
And it's one of those things where, you talk about mental health and sobriety, and this is so unprecedented that when it comes to the lasting effects for your kids, the lasting effects for just us as adults, like what is this doing to all of our mental health? And like, I always viewed concerts as that place where I went to be amongst people that were part of my community. And the last concert I went to was February 28th. I saw Bush in Vegas at the House of Blues in Vegas. And the show was great. They were obviously amazing, and it was sold out, and it was awesome. And I didn't even think like, oh, this might be the last concert that I see for a fucking year or more. And, you know, missing that access to the community and not being able to be around those like-minded people and have that release. Like, none of us really know what this is going to do to any of us long term.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's.
Yeah, I mean, here we try to get out a little bit in town and just at least go for walks. So it feels like just small steps are kind of they can sort of help with that sort of thing, just to get out and at least get out in the community for a few minutes and walk around and see what's happening. But yeah, it's tough. I have no idea what what to expect over the next few months, or how people are going to be and when shows are going to get back. And I don't know. It's crazy.
I know both of you guys. One thing that would totally help both of your mental health is hockey. And
soon, right? Coming up.
That's what they're saying. You guys are both extremely passionate kind of, hockey guys. I mean, if you're from Canada, they inject it into your DNA at birth, don't they? I mean, you don't have a choice.
Born with skates on, right?
That's right, yeah. Usually, born with skates on or gloves on or something.
Right.
Yeah. I think Mike's more the baseball guy and the football guy.
But he's a homer like I am.
Yeah,
so you got to root for the Bees. And
that's it, exactly. And they got a good chance this year.
Go
ahead, Adam.
I am so sick of the fucking Bruins, man. Like it's just my team's nemesis. It's like
you
it just
can't get
happen,
past the Bruins.
You know it will.
Not this year.
It's gonna make victory that much sweeter.
Not this year.
And it's gonna happen.
Wait, should I turn my hat around?
We'll see.
Here we go. How's that?
Oh, there you go. You got your Red Sox hat on. Exactly.
Of course.
But that is something that I think will help so much, that sports really is unlike, the concerts, there are a lot of these streaming shows that are happening in the next few weeks, and they're doing things where you can buy tickets to get access to these.
No, sure.
But sports
everybody's trying to figure it out. That's the
right.
thing. Even the sports thing. It's going to be real interesting. Listen, what happens if, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers come down with this? That your team's obviously affected. I guess is it like the injured reserve? I don't know. What do you do? It's going to be a couple people on a team get it. Do they shut the team down? I just don't think anybody really knows. Baseball's starting in a couple of weeks, right? So that'll really be the first indicator, and then basketball shortly after that, then hockey, right? I think that's what it's going to be. So. Listen, it'd be great to have it back and have it back on, right? So,
yeah, at least you could be at home on your couch screaming at the television again, and that would make you feel normal, right? Even if there's no people in the crowd, that at least we could watch it on television.
Yeah, no, yeah, it will be nice for sure to have some of that back, definitely.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Looking forward to the Leafs and the Jays beating all those Boston teams this year. You just watch.
Okay.
Jays are going all the way.
You've been telling me this for years. I just have yet to.
Yeah, I know.
I love the fact that you guys can be in a band together and spend all that brotherly quality time on the tour bus that you were talking about, Adam, and literally be so opposed in your sports loyalties. It's really a testament to your friendship that you guys just don't end up in fistfights every night when you're watching games on TV.
Oh, it's gotten heated before. I tell you, it's just, we've been this close to strangling each other at certain points, but no,
it's good.
It's just sports.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Really.
You'll know that's when the world is back to normal again, when you're like legit fighting with people you love over sports again. Like you'll be like, oh wait, like. This feels normal.
Yeah, we're back to normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the inspiration and all of the new music that you guys think is going to come out of this whole era, because I feel like with this much downtime, for me, I've been spending a lot of time growing stuff in my garden and cooking, because that is kind of, I don't I can't play an instrument. I'm not musically inclined like you guys are. So I'm funneling that kind of creative energy into cooking and growing. I mean, my tomato plants, let me just tell you, my Sicilian ancestors, mwah, like they would be so proud.
I'll bet. That's awesome.
But for you guys, are you finding it to be a more creative time writing wise? Are you going into musical directions that you didn't expect, or are finding these veins of creativity because of the outside inspiration?
Again, for me, it hasn't really been much different. You know what I mean? It's like if I pick up a guitar, it's to try to, kind of come up with something in practice. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, you know what I mean? And if it's cool, I try to put it down. But I do read a lot, though. It does seem like a lot of people are working on new. I think that 2021 is going to have so many new records coming out because everybody's going to be, there's nothing else to do. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, there were a lot of records that were supposed to come out this year that people aren't releasing because they want to be able to tour on it.
I know.
And it's like, okay.
It happened to us. I mean, we had, Saint Asonia had all these tours. They all went away.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't know if you're going to be able to tour next year.
We played one show since our record
Carrie, stop.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to beat, but I'm saying for the bands that have these records, like maybe the music is what we need right now. Like I'm trying to convince people to not put all this music, to put it out.
Sure, yeah, no, I hear you. But it's hard though. I mean, the thing is, especially as a rock band, I mean, if you can't get out there and play, you work so hard on making that record and you don't have, I mean, listen, even financially for just trying to make a living. I mean, that's how you make a living is you go out, you tour, you play shows, you sell some t-shirts and you make an income and that's how you live. You don't make it on the record side.
Right. It used to be that way. Everybody, just to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, like in the last 5-10 years, people would always say, remember all those free shows AAF used to put on? How come you guys don't do that anymore? And I would always say, hey, remember when everyone was shitting on Lars?
Yeah.
About having people's music getting stolen.
Yeah.
This is like, I remember taking so much crap on the air back in the day and saying, well, if you want to pay $50 for a t-shirt, by all means, steal the record. But these bands are paying for studios and tour buses and instruments and diesel fuel and roadies and pyro and all of this stuff. They got to come up with the money somehow. And it used to be from record sales. And then you would tour to help sell records.
Yeah.
And now with the streaming services and all of that, the record is now the promotional piece that gives you the reason to go out on the road and go on tour. Yeah. And that's kind of what funds and feeds the machine now. So.
No, for sure. I mean, it's definitely, so, I mean, if you can't put out a record without being able to go out on the road and back it up, you know what I mean? And even with what you do with radio, even if you want to get something played, you use that as a way of, we're going to be in your town. So if this station, in whatever, I don't know, Michigan is now going to play
we could play a show for you. We'll come to the radio station.
We're going to play some stuff. So you spin the record. So, I mean, that's really how the whole thing works. And when you take that away and you can't get out there and you can't get on the road and you can't promote it, you're taking away the biggest chip that you have to deal with, you know what I mean? To try and promote yourself and make a living.
That's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we've got Blind released. I mean, it's out there, but not being able to play shows, stop in at stations and meet, just whatever. Yeah, it's kind of, whatever is what it is.
I feel bad for people that have listened to every episode of the podcast, but I have to keep bringing it up because I haven't seen or talked to you guys since it all happened. But you bring up what a huge part of radio is in this whole machine. And obviously WAAF going off the air after 50 years. I'm not saying it because I was there for so long, but it really was such a huge, important radio station in rock as a genre.
Career and in me growing, like we talked about, you said, it was a station I grew up listening to. Yeah, it was a station I grew up listening to. You know what I mean? Now I'm in Connecticut. I wasn't getting it. But whenever I come back, I'd put on AAF. you know, and you guys kind of had some changes there back when we came out. You guys were really about pushing new music and playing that. You guys went Heritage a little bit for a little while. I remember turning on one time, I heard Jimi Hendrix. I'm like, what is this? I got the right station, you know, but it was still cool. It was still promoting rock, you know? So,
yeah.
And the thing about that is that there's so few rock stations across the country that to see, one of the best ones that was out there go away sucks. I mean, it's really, it was just sad. I mean, honestly, I remember finding out that station was going away was like, I mean, I can't compare it to some, you know, terrible, but it's one of those, I know exactly where I was and what I was doing when I found out. And I'll always remember that because I couldn't believe it.
Where were you?
I was,
you know, what's crazy too is when we oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, I was at Universal with my kids. We were on vacation. I was in a hotel room. And I was putting them to bed, and I got a text message from my buddy from work, you know, at the six string with, and I'm like, and there was a thing, I'm like, what? I didn't believe it. Go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, being from Canada too, when we first, you know, put our first record out in 2002 or whatever, coming down to the States and touring the States was, you know, a big deal for us or whatever. And there's not many stations. There's only a small handful that I remember from touring way back in the day, like doing different shows for different stations. And WAF was definitely the one that stood out. I remember playing a show, you know, I've mentioned a couple times we played with Korn, and it was a WAF show, and it was I forget what strip it was on. It was on that main little strip where those clubs.
Oh, on Lansdowne
Lansdowne Street.
Yeah, and you know, there was a bunch of bands. It was upstairs. The backstage was upstairs, and we were
Avalon probably
or whatever. But
yeah, that's what the House of Blues
probably
is
House
now.
of Blues is now, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where I first met you, Carrie. I think
that
probably
sounds right.
Makes most sense. But yeah, anyway, WAF was just, you know, even back then was, for us, it was just a station I always remember, you know. So yeah, it's a fucking bummer.
One of the things that I've really learned in the last few months, kind of mourning the station and really trying to figure out for me what I was going to do next, is that this community, meaning the rock community, especially in this region of the country, is so passionate and so close-knit, and it made the decision pretty easy for me to want to try and keep it together, which is why I launched the podcast, which is why I'm building the website. And I really want to be a place that can still turn people on to new bands, still give people access to the bands that they love, like you guys, and then hopefully be able to be involved with putting events and shows together when we're allowed to do those things again, and to really kind of be that clubhouse that AAF used to be, where we could all kind of meet and get together and talk music or talk whatever, and that we could get together and go to shows. And so even though it's not quite the same, the ability to have this kind of conversation with you guys, that we could just sit back and talk about whatever, and it is a little bit the same. And I bring it up because I really wanted to thank you guys for hanging out with me today and being so supportive of this next part of my journey, but also in keeping this community in the Northeast, these rock fans, all together still, because it really is like a big family.
Well, now that you're doing this, it doesn't have to just be the Northeast, right?
Yeah, I'm in 77 countries now.
There you go.
It's so, and obviously Canada's one of them, Adam, but like places like Mongolia and Thailand and Egypt. And I get these reports of who's downloading my podcast, and I'm like, who the hell are these people? But I love the fact that the rock passion around the world is discovering the podcast, and obviously it's very cool.
No, it's very cool. And listen,
I mean, you've always supported us. And we'll be there for you, no matter what you're doing, you know. Absolutely.
And I'm super stoked that you were able to, you know, take what happened and, you know, make it into something and build upon what you had and what you spent so many years, you know, getting to where you are. So That's great.
I mean, trust me, I'm still buying lottery tickets because if I hit the big one, I'm putting a radio station on the air for sure. But if that doesn't happen, I gotta work out of MCHQ and make what I can happen.
I'm not sure that's a great investment, but I mean, if that's what you want to spend it on, then that's.
I'm pretty sure there are rock stars that have spent way more money on way dumber things.
I'm absolutely positive that's true.
Adam raises his hand. He's like, me.
Yeah, I'm positive that's true.
All right, before I let you guys go, there's a lot going on. Mike, you brought it up earlier with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that's going on socially. And this is something that continues to come up in the podcast as well. The rock community has always been a place, and I feel like now more than ever is really showing the rest of the world how to be inclusive and tolerant of people's differences and to really just bring people together. And I feel like this community has always been that way, where it's like, we really don't care what hockey team you like or where you're from or what color your skin is or what your religion is, because when you're listening to that music and you're at those shows, that's really all we care about, is that you're in it for the music. Is that how you guys feel? Because I feel like we could all be lessons for the rest of the world on what it's like to just bring people together as opposed to find reasons to divide them.
Yeah, no question. I mean, listen, I don't know. I guess I live in a bubble, I guess, because I mean, it's just really hard to think that there's still that much hatred out there for, you know what I mean? You see some of the stuff that happens and goes on, and it's just hard to comprehend. And where does it come from? You know? So I think that'd be a great thing if there's somebody could take that lesson from, you know, the way we treat people.
It's always been that. It's always, like you said, Carrie, it's always been that way. We literally could care less about who, you know, what your beliefs are, or what color your skin is, or anything. I mean, we're just rock music. It's just music, you know. And the community, like you said, it's amazing. It really is. I mean, I was, when you were mentioning that, I was thinking about other genres of music, and I think it's pretty few and far between to find a community so closely knit as the rock music. So yeah, it's amazing. Hopefully all of this stuff that we're going through makes everybody quite a bit stronger, and finally get some change, you know, that we need.
Yeah, who would have thought that it would have been the weird rock people that were showing everybody else around the world like how to be human better.
Yeah, right.
The dregs of society that we all are. The freaks.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I am so grateful that you guys took so much time to hang out with me today. It was so nice to be able to see you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
And to be able to talk and kind of hear how you guys are doing. I know sometimes when I call people and I'm like, hey, you know, come on the podcast, let's talk or whatever. And they're like, well, I'm not on the road and I don't have a record out and there's nothing to talk about. I'm like, you're kind of selling yourself short. You're a very interesting person. There's plenty of things for us to talk about. Like, I feel like this is when we should be kind of having all of these conversations and checking in on each other, because we are that close-knit community that just because you guys aren't on tour doesn't mean that your fans aren't wondering how you're doing. And it doesn't mean that, you know, that the fans don't care. They do. It's just that we can't come and see you guys play right now, but
hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just know that you guys are loved and you're missed, and everybody is glad that you're doing so well and that your families are healthy and happy and that your honey-do lists are getting checked off and taken care of.
Thing will never end.
Yeah. You got the minivan, you're driving around the kids, and then what are you going to do? Are you going to stain the back deck, Mike? What are you going to do then?
No minivan. There's no minivan. Never. I do have to say, I did rent one on vacation once, and it's probably the most practically made vehicle ever invented. However, I will never own one.
I have a buddy that I have known since kindergarten, And we have been lifelong Patriots fans, right? And I have a group of friends like from junior high school that I am just blessed that I have known my entire life. Those friends that you just will always have, right?
It's awesome.
So his name's Tony. One game a year, we all get tickets to a Pats game. And we plan it months out. And we figure out who's bringing what to the tailgate. We make really good food and whatever. And Tony was the guy with the minivan. And he got stuck driving the tailgate for years. And we would always make fun of him about the minivan until that first year we tailgated out of it. And we were like, this fucking thing's kind of awesome.
Pretty cool. Totally. The doors open, the seats go down. You can put anything you want in it. You relax, lay back. I mean, come on.
It looks ridiculous,
It
but I
does.
gotta.
Tony, you're the man.
I
It's
stopped
really
making fun of
practical.
minivans, man.
It's really practical.
And how many bands hauled their gear around in old minivans back in the day? Like,
I never did that either. I've
Oh yeah. I had a minivan for I don't know, like a year. It was an old Town and Country Chrysler. It was just a hunk of shit, but yeah, it did the job.
Right?
We toured in a K car and a tent trailer. That's how it started.
I didn't know that.
That was how we did.
Holy smokes!
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, K car and tent trailer on the back with all the gear in it. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
you'll never, ever bitch about that tour bus ever, ever, ever.
Oh, no. Never. Mm-mm.
Totally.
No complaints over here. Yeah.
Well, guys, it was so good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie.
Please, obviously, if there's anything that we all need to know about, if you guys decide to release some music or whatever, please let me know, because I know everybody would be really interested in doing it or be really interested in hearing it. And if I can help get the word out, or if there's anything I can do to help you, just please let me know.
Thank you very much. Same here.
Will do. Awesome.
Maybe someday I'll get you guys actually in person. You guys can come and hang out in MCHQ.
There you go. There you go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's
It's
cleaner than the old AAF studio, although that's not hard.
Not saying much.
There they are, Adam and Mike from Saint Asonia on episode 8 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. Don't forget, in the description of this podcast, there is a playlist where you can check out all of the music that we talked about today, and also some music that I just thought you would think was totally badass. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit subscribe, because there's a lot more stuff coming out than just the weekly episodes of the Mistress Carrie podcast that come out every Wednesday. Lots of surprises coming. And also, whenever we have a guest on Cocktails in the War Room, which happens every Tuesday night at 8:30 live on my Facebook page, I always try to get that interview audio up as an after-action report on the podcast as well. But click subscribe. Don't miss anything. And if you don't mind giving it a 5-star review and comment on the episode. If you're looking for me on social, you can find me at Mistress Carrie on Twitter and my official YouTube channel, and on Cameo, and on Facebook and Instagram at Mistress Carrie WAAF. Huge thanks to Latini Creative Solutions at latinicreative.com and Jumptown Skydiving at jumptown.com for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And a huge hello to the 77 countries that are now listening. You guys rock.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.